What's up? Welcome back everybody to Tales to Morrow. I am Morrow, and we're gonna be reading some RPG horror stories. Fun fact, when the first video was uploaded, it actually did not have a name for the channel. I had no idea what to call it. I didn't even know if I was gonna start a channel, but here we are. The first story of the day is about a DM that thinks exhaustion is a good punishment for missing a session. DM decides permanent exhaustion points are a good punishment for missing sessions. Sessions get weird after, not safe for work. Some months ago, I got into Descent into Avernus game. Things started reasonably well, and the DM did a fairly good job and obviously put a lot of work into it, for making the maps on Dungeon Craft, for example, but there were weird choices from the start. He had some module installed on Foundry that made random critical fumbles at a 1, and those ranged from basically nothing happening to combat breaking stuff. I distinctly remember one that just broke your weapon. Yes, even if magical or story relevant. And one that emptied your spell slots if you're a spellcaster. Imagine that happening at level 20. I mean, I heard of crit fumbles, and my group uses crit fumbles and crit successes, but this is a bit too much, so like, why? What really threw me off was when I missed 2 sessions because of really personal stuff. I just let him know I wouldn't be able to make it, and I guess my mistake was that I didn't choose to elaborate on why. Then at the session I got to go to, he told me to add 2 exhaustion points. I asked why, and he said it was because of the missed sessions. I asked if it was just for this session, and he said, no, they are permanent. Even if your character dies and you roll a new one. I said, okay, I'm leaving the table, cause I was playing a bard, and I wouldn't bother playing with a disadvantage on all ability checks with a class most focused on them, not to mention the halved speed. That can be deadly. He then, probably not wanting to deal with recruiting another player, decided to retract it, make it so you lose 1 point at the end of the session. Unfortunately, that was enough to make me try to stay. Partially out of respect for the amount of extra work and paid resources he was using to run the game. Then comes a person that I don't know if I can call that guy, but he definitely was a guy. I'll just call him Barbarian. I later learned that he was playing a chaotic evil character. And yeah, I could tell. First, it starts with him being an incredibly loud and intense character of a guy. Don't know if he is actually like that, but he would constantly get in between negotiations or social interactions, instigating violence, and sometimes getting over people's plans for diplomacy, which was kinda constant with me because Bard. Listen, Dungeons of the Dragons is most about combat. You can't just persuade your way out of every single combat in order to get advantage. There are moments where you can do it, and it's great when DMs give you the access to do that, and when they add the ability for you to talk your way out of situations or get an upper hand in conversations. That's fantastic. But this jackass, he was like, oh, I'm gonna be a chaotic barbarian. You're trying to do the one thing bards are good at? Talking to people? No, I'm gonna ruin it. Anyway, let's keep going. The surprise for me is when we invade a mansion with a certain NPC villain that is disabled and has spies. People who ran or played the module might recognize. He threatens to snuggle struggle if he doesn't give us information. The DM asked for clarification, or if the character was willing to realize the threat if he doesn't get it, or if it's a bluff to determine if intimidation or a deception roll. And of course he says he is absolutely willing. That was really out of nowhere for me because they didn't mention this was a possibility in the game. I'm not triggered by it, nor do I think anyone was at the table, but yeah, he should have mentioned that. After some sessions, we are robbed by a gang of small children that takes some of our purses, including mine and Barbarian's. We find one of them, and he tortures the kid to the point of breaking his arm to get info on where the other children are. Mind you, this is after I suggest, I don't know, charm person or suggestion? The hell? It all changed when just after level 5, I think. DM takes us to the Candlekeep, and we try to run and sell some magic items. And we try to buy and sell some magic items. And the DM basically has the shopkeeper let us freely draw from the deck of many things. And for context, my character was addicted to gambling for his backstory, so by this being explained to him, very low wisdom, it was basically metagaming for him to not draw from it. But another player draws first and mine second. This is apparently a on-the-fly decision by the DM, because he hadn't prepared the deck. So he solved that by counting the numbers of cards, having us roll the number of cards. Me and the other player roll at the same time, but his comes comes up on top. And while the DM is counting the first player's roll in the book, me with my physical book and counting mine, and then bam, moon. If you don't know, that means 1d3 wishes. You can imagine my giddiness. When the DM does to count mine, he takes a bit and says something different. Skull, which means my character has to fight an avatar of death. I get confused, but I think he might be using some sort of other list. He leaves that for later, while at the same time, first character, they got something that does nothing, inversing alignment while true neutral, draws again and bam, same number as mine, so skull as well. So there are now two characters fighting death. Which one do you think won? The fighter with a legendary shield, with fireballs and wall of fire, it was +2 I think, but AC didn't matter because the enemy automatically hit, or the bard with support spells. The results were predictable. At the time, I was okay with it because it was a fitting end for Addicted Gambler. And I started making a new character, made a Hexadin. But after we descended into Avernus, don't think that's a spoiler, we get 2 sessions of only combat encounters non-stop. That barely have me time to talk as my character. And the conspiracy theory that the DM has purposely not given me the right card was getting into me. Which I would understand if he just changed for another positive card, fearing that one could break his game. He could just ask me nicely not to. After those, I just made some excuse and left the table. Well, the death kinda sucks. The problem player definitely sucks. There must have been a reason why the DM decided to change the card order. Maybe there was some sort of a story reason. Maybe the cards were dealt just weren't in your favor. Anyway, next story. Problem player demands his character after we agreed to remove them. Hello there. This has happened like 2 months ago, but I'm still a bit like, what? I'm DMing for 4 friends. We all get along pretty well and love D&D. My players love my campaign. One player who casually DMs has created a totally unlikable, unreasonable, edgy character nobody got along with. He wanted to create this man who fights for others but has to endure so much to find any joy in life, only living for the cause of getting his daughter back. But how he handled it was special. He constantly lamented to the others how bad his life was, without telling them exactly why. He started to run away from children since every child and baby reminded his character of his dead daughter, creating weird encounters. When another player asked, "What can I do to befriend your character?" he answered, "Well, my character doesn't like it when you ask him questions about his past, and he doesn't like small talk, but he appreciates it when you help." How are you supposed to help someone who doesn't tell you what the problem is? How do you work with somebody like that? I mean, think about it, right? Put yourself in the other player's position, right? I got a brute storyline that nobody may understand and nobody will know about, and I won't tell you anything about it, because you don't deserve to know. You better follow orders and play nice, or else you will never understand my character. I get that edgy characters with a difficult past are fun to play because the idea of them sounds cool. If making an edgelord, make a good edgelord. Somebody that has a bit of a rough past, but is willing to talk about it once he trusts somebody. Not this. Anyway, let's keep going. He always had to be the main character. Always. Constantly. And he always got very silent when others told him that his character acted unreasonable. For example, he put the sewers under a city on fire in order to escape bandits, when others reminded him that this was extremely dangerous and the city could suffer. He shrugged it off. Doesn't go well with a party of people who are generally good aligned. He just brooded, constantly reminding everyone of his misery, didn't connect with the others, didn't even talk to them properly. He disrespected the other characters' family members. He acted like a total sociopath when confronting bandits to the point that he wanted to torture them to get answers. He did, by the way, always state that his alignment was neutral good. Are you kidding me? That's considered neutral? Being a psychopath and broodmeister? The more I read this, the more I just feel bad for the rest of the party and the DM. He hated the rich for reasons. He never explained why. He wanted to be a charmer to the ladies, but every time he spoke to a woman, he got abusively creepy and said things that a bloody predator would say. He wanted to be a Robin Hood-like figure, but he never helped anyone. He just caused trouble, not only for the party, but also the people around them. Yeah, that's considered jackass, not a Robin Hood. But anyway, He wanted to start a revolution against the current government since the elves took over after the capital burned down, trying to help build it up again because the king died in the fire, and he didn't understand why the others weren't pleased to hear that he wanted to chase away the only people who helped them rebuild their homes. He was racist, told our drow bard that they shouldn't exist, since that one is a ghost who took over the body, not understanding why the party told him that that's incredibly rude. He constantly got snarky, belittled others, didn't really care about their stories, didn't act like a team member, and he absolutely hated if he wasn't the center of attention. Wow, what a surprise! The most annoying character in the party, that it's an Edgelord, wants to also be the spotlight of attention. If you want to make a character that's somebody that's likable. There's too many times that somebody makes a complete asshole, and the justification for that is, it's what my character would do. And I feel like this kind of player would use the "it's what my character would do" as a defense for some of the obnoxious actions. If this is something your character would do, how about you make a better character? How about you come up with a more cooperative character? A character that's gonna actually mesh really well with your party in a cooperative game we call D&D. We still got a bit to go, so let's see what happens. This got so out of hand at one point that I, as his DM, took him to a private channel and asked him if he was still okay with things going, since the others clearly stated the resentment. And he answered that he didn't feel like it was a good idea that he continue playing his character, asking me if he could roll a new one, which I totally agreed with. Now, I put a lot of energy in him and his problem character. I remember spending hours talking to him at least once a month, telling him that he acts unreasonable and asking him to please stay in line, since the others got super frustrated with time. You put hours into this player? I mean, listen, not to blame the DM. Clearly, they're trying. They're trying to mediate, they're trying to put all they can to make sure that everybody has a good time, and maybe convince this problem player that maybe they should change up their act. Some people, however, they don't give a fuck. They simply just don't care. They want to be able to do whatever they want, and they'll keep doing it regardless of what you try to do with them. It's unreasonable to put in hours into one single player when you have a whole other collection of players on your table or at your virtual table that are happy to play with you. Unless it's like a close friend, then I mean, yeah, I guess I could see why that could be like a thing. If you have a close friend that's in your session and your campaign, clearly you want them to stay, right? Because it's your friend. But if it's not somebody your friend, somebody you don't know that well, you're not that close to, and his presence at the table or virtual table makes it more difficult for everybody else to enjoy, including yourself, DM, might just drop him. He always promised it to me. He never did. And these are just a few examples. And then he asked me, could my character we had abandoned come back sometime, like for a little mission? I honestly didn't know what to say. It was clearly stated, not only by me, but also the others, that nobody liked his problem character. That he only caused trouble and uproar, and that he wasn't a good fit. So him asking me if that douchebag could come back left me flabbergasted, honestly. I told him that this was absolutely no chance I would allow him, since 1, I didn't want to deal with all the drama and stress anymore, and 2, I would not allow him to have 2 characters, so to speak. That would just be unfair to the others. And he shrugged it off. Currently, he's playing a bard and said this one tries to be a good noodle, but he hasn't done or spoken much yet. I think he's still salty that his horrible character isn't allowed back. And you know what? Good on you, DM. Stick to being strict with him. Because you're the only one that can dictate what happens at your table and can enforce different manners and rules and such. So as long as you're doing that, you're good to go. And listen, even if this guy's unhappy, the rest of your players are going to be very, very grateful. And that's the last story for today. I want to thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, hope you enjoyed the stories. Let me know which one was your favorite and your thoughts down in the comment section below. I am Morrow, and I'll see you next time on Tales to Morrow. See ya.